SVV's write-up with the caption, "My wife, fashionable and scientific." It is a sort of satire. I read from his write-up. I have a feeling that I am a trifle overworked by my wife. Not in the literal sense of work, but in the way of having to adjust myself to new life every morning of the week. It is taxing one's adaptability to wake up in the morning to find that you cannot live the life, think the thought, wear the clothes, or eat the food that you did yesterday without being so much out of date. Temperamentally, I am a bit of an anachronism. I should have lived ages ago, when the world was still young and innocent, and civilization had not got itself so hopelessly entangled in complexities. But I do pause for a dasher and a tip-top, and I owe it all to my wife. God bless her, the little dear. We married by advertisement. That made us meet, but love did the rest. I am an MA in Sanskrit, which is not very reputable, but an MA all right. And my wife is, in addition, an MBBS. She learnt at college, along with surgery, medicine, midwifery, and that sort of thing, also a taste for the latest fashion in women's dress and gait, an admiration for the latest men's style and tennis. Remember, SVV has written this in the 1930s. I should choose my clothing for comfort and for qualities that would wear well. But my wife was for things showy and that could tell. I always yielded to the wisdom of my wife. Every morning before I came down to breakfast, I never knew what I was going to wear for the day. One day, I was asked to trudge the streets in baggy trousers like a Pathan, and on another, I underwent the agony of getting into tight pantaloons that would not easily glide up my legs. One time I was required to cultivate a turned down moustache of a fairly bushy growth, and now I am left with two little clumps like two flies settled on my upper lip. But never did I undergo any change that was not in strict conformity with the latest fashion. Why are you so fastidious about my dress, my dear? I told her one day plaintively when I just finished driving my legs into the pantaloons like a carpenter drilling an obstinate wood. Don't you know, you goose, she said, that I want to be proud of my little husband and want half the women folk go crazy over him. Suppose I elope with one or two of them, I asked. You won't, she said with a pretty pouting of her lips and a playful slap on my cheek that should soften any agony, including that of getting into tight pantaloons. But one really need not so much mind the tyranny of the external makeup, seeing what other things one has to hear for strictly scientific life, which was another speciality of my wife. Imagine, like a donkey, to roll a swarthy body for 45 minutes every week in a scorching noonday sun of a hot June. The wife having read somewhere that sunbath was the best curative, preventive, and the toner up of the system. Or with your legs tied to the bedpost, having to raise a heavy head and a body 20 times in L form every day, hissing the while like a blacksmith's bellows, or like the boy in the Muharram to be immersed in clay a day a week for a glossy skin, or having to sit for 20 minutes every morning solitarily in a corner before you can get your breakfast, auto suggesting, oh, I am quite well, oh, I am perfectly all right, oh, my digestive system is quite good, oh, I am beaming in health, or mantrams to a similar effect. And after all this trouble, not to have a breakfast or dinner that you relish, few of you imagine what is to be put on a raw vegetable or split onions, split carrots for a week on end, or to crack nuts without variety from Sunday to Sunday on the ground that the latest discovery in scientific dietetics is an one commodity meal or sun-cured food. Why won't you give us the dishes we usually had, my dear? We have absolutely no variety and none of the deliciousness associated with idli, sambar, pepper water, and the like, I beseeched in a plaintive voice. She laughed with a scientific relish. Why, you ghosts, don't you know the latest discovery of science is going back to nature in food? You really don't know how slowly we were being poisoned by the mixed food we have been foolishly eating all this time. Do cows and horses eat mixed food? Why should man? But madam, cows haven't got to compose poetry or write paragraphs to newspapers as I have got to do, my dear. Should the accumulated wisdom of ages go for nothing? I pleaded in a feeble undertone that plainly indicated liability to correction. But science and my wife were both inexorable and believed that a man can see visions on raw potatoes even more glorious than Shakespeare did when he wrote the best poetry in the world. I am now content to be stuffed with vitamins commencing from A through the whole gamut of the alphabet and keep praying that God will let me live. It has not come to grass yet, though any day my wife may discover the quantity and quality of vitamin it contains. And when she does, what shall I do? Why, of course, chew it and look happy as a mark of respect to science and the love of my wife. My wife, I love her. God bless her, the little dear.